Happy New Year, Rossonville families. We are so excited to continue to bring you the wonderful book talks and bedtime stories. This week, our featured book is going to be a special book, and I wonder if you guys know why it's special. Tomorrow is Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday that we will celebrate. That's why we will not be in school. So today I'm going to read you a wonderful story entitled Happy Birthday, Martin Luther King. This book was written by Marzollo, and it was illustrated, and remember the illustrator is the person that draws the pictures, by Bryant, Pinkney. Okay, are you guys ready? Let's get started. Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15, 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia. His parents loved him very much. Martin Luther King had the same name as his father, except for one thing. His father was called Martin Luther King Sr. Martin was called Martin Luther King Jr. I bet some of you are juniors too. Martin went to elementary school, high school, and college in Atlanta. He was a good student. Later, he went to divinity school in Pennsylvania. Martin became a pastor just like his dad at the Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta. They were both called Reverend. The Reverend Martin Luther King Sr. and the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. Martin's job as a minister was to help people in need. He visited sick people in the hospital, and he made them feel better. He asked people not to fight with each other. He said that there were peaceful ways to solve problems, and there are peaceful ways to solve problems. And like his father, Martin led people in prayer and song. The Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. is famous because he helped our country change some of its laws. A law is like a rule. Once there was a law in some places that said only white people could sit in front of a bus and that black people had to sit in the back. Some of you may have heard about that rule in your history books. Martin Luther King said that this law needed to be changed. Rosa Parks and other people like him changed it. Now, all people can sit on any seat that they want on any bus in America. Once there were some laws in place that said African Americans could only use certain restaurants and their drinking fountains. Martin Luther King and many other people helped change those laws too. Now all people can share the same restaurants and drinking fountains. Once there was a law in some places that said that black children and white children couldn't go to school together. That just makes me so sad. Martin Luther King and other people, including many very brave children, they had this law changed too. Now black children and white children and all children can go to school together in our country. Martin Luther King had a special talent for leadership. When he spoke, people listened. Poor people, rich people, white people, black people, and people from all over the world. They listened when Martin Luther King spoke. Many of them helped him when he worked. They marched with him, they would sing, and they would pray for justice. In the summer of 1963, Martin Luther King Jr. gave the most famous speech of his life. He gave it outdoors to 250,000 people. That's over 250,000. And they came to Washington, D.C. to hear him speak, to ask the president for jobs, for freedom for black people. His dream was that people everywhere would learn to live together without being mean to each other. Martin Luther King Jr. was killed in 1968. Because he loved poor people so much, he was given a special funeral in Atlanta, Georgia, where he was born. His body was put in a simple farm cart and pulled slowly by 2 mules to a cemetery. Thousands of people walked behind Martin in a sad but loving parade. On his gravestone were carved these beautiful words: "Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, I am free at last." And that is a picture at his grave. So remember, Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday is celebrated today, and we want to always think about being kind to everyone. It doesn't matter what color their skin is. It doesn't matter where they come from. We are always going to be kind to one another. Good night, Rossonville.